My name is Branden Newman. I'm the CISO of MGM Resorts International, based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. So my very first job was at 15 years old at a fast food restaurant. I think I probably learned if you work hard, you don't get fired. But my first relevant job, I would say, was when I was in the United States Air Force. My first job was on a service desk, so answering phones like in the middle of the night. This is where I really learned the difference between the way that technical people versus non-technical people think. So I got to interact on a daily basis with them, and I still think that I use that today in my interactions. I would say that people coming up through the military have a much different perspective than people that came up through the commercial side alone. I think there's a huge difference. Not only good, though. So you come with a lot of kind of leadership skills, organizational skills. You're really process oriented. There's a lot of drive toward the mission that comes from just military service, I would say. But for me, when I switched from the military over to the commercial side, it was really a huge awakening. So there were lots of things that I was fairly unprepared for. Everything from budgeting processes to HR processes, all the things that go on behind the scenes in a company that you don't get exposure to in the military. The biggest one was probably the balance between security and business objectives. In the military, security is really top of mind and has to happen regardless of what else is going on. But in a company, you really got to come to that balance. And it took me quite a while to come to that realization that security is not the end all be all. We're a cog in the wheel to make this company successful. If I could use just one word, it would probably be pragmatic. And this goes back to what I said before. When I first came in, I was based a lot off of theory and what I knew, and let's just get the job done at all costs. Now I've realized that you definitely have to be pragmatic to be respected by the rest of the business leaders and actually get to your ultimate goal of increasing the maturity across the company. It's a difficult challenge to foster the culture of security at a company, especially very large multinational companies. Back to my earlier point around how I was talking about when I was on a service desk, I learned the difference between tech folk and non-tech folk way of thinking and speaking. That still stays with me today, and I think that not talking to the organization like they're cybersecurity professionals or technical at all is the best way to drive a culture. You learn what drives them, learn what drives the business, and use that as a way to communicate with the company to drive a security culture in the end. So the pioneers of the internet, I think, did an amazing job. The fact that some of the core protocols are still running today is super successful. That being said, I think they had kind of a utopian view back then. There was a lot of researchers and educators and stuff using the internet. If I could go back today, I would probably ask them to build authentication into all of the protocols at the core layer. Well, I think the media, much like in other topics, they use a lot of sensationalism in cybersecurity. I wish they would stop that across the board, but specifically in cybersecurity, I don't like hearing that every single breach was some kind of super sophisticated nation state, or that this breach is going to take the company under or something like this. I wish that the public could understand the different levels of some companies just not doing the fundamentals and getting compromised by a very basic attack, if you want to call it that way. And other companies are very prepared and do, in fact, get hit by those nation states. If they could understand the difference, I think it would be much fairer to the companies that are hitting the news on various breaches. The biggest gap I see in the market for security solutions is around GRC, so governance, risk, and compliance, are now often called integrated risk management. There's kind of silos out there. You have people developing solutions for the compliance kind of audit side of the house, and that's a lot of your GRC solutions. And then you have a lot of new amazing solutions that are covering technical gaps. I don't see a lot of solutions that really tie those together. And I would like to see where you could center GRC in your security program more and have it tied into all of the various technologies in your security stack in a way that you're not doing it manually like we're doing today. I talk to a lot of startup founders, so I've seen a lot of mistakes. The most common and probably biggest one to me is is basically over-promising. So these founders have really poured their heart and soul into developing their solution. They've lived and breathed it every single day for quite a while. So they really want to shoehorn that thing in to fix all of your company's problems. And this just, it's not really worth it in the long run, because you're going to sour a relationship. It's going to get, at the end of the day, give a bad taste in the mouth of the customer. I think that the way that they should approach that is really know where their product fits in an overall security program, exactly which problems it fixes, and try to understand that company's problems and really show them where it can deliver value without over-promising. So at the end of the day, they're satisfied with the purchase that they make. For fun, I'm kind of an outdoorsman. I do a lot of camping, hiking, fishing, scuba diving. Anything is outdoors, I love to be out there doing.